war in Syria explained by two simple maps. Thousands of American soldiers have been asked to repay enlistment bonuses, and how your DVR helped crash the internet. It's SkyWatchTV for Tuesday, October 25th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, the battle for Mosul continues in Iraq. U.S. troops embedded with Iraqi battalion and brigade-level units are advancing toward the city center in Mosul. ISIS fighters using guerrilla tactics to execute a fighting withdrawal. A massive fire spewing toxic sulfur fumes into the air, which, considering the hellish conditions in Mosul, seems appropriate. Up to 200 U.S. special operators are assigned to 12 Iraqi brigades pushing toward Mosul. Now, disturbingly, some of those Iraqi units are flying the Shiite flag rather than the Iraqi national flag, or they're at least flying the Shiite flag above the Iraqi flag. That's one thing for a Shiite militia unit to do this, but these are official government units representing the government in Baghdad. Imagine the U.S. Army advancing into Islamic territory underneath the Christian flag, and you get kind of the idea of what's happening here. This is a clue that once the ISIS forces are pushed out of Mosul, the fighting might not stop, because Mosul has traditionally been a mostly Sunni city, and you've got the official army units moving into Mosul underneath the Shiite banner. Remember, the Sunnis and Shiites consider one another heretics. I mean, they hate each other slightly more than they hate the great Satan, Western Christians. This could get really ugly, and it could degenerate in a hurry into a sectarian war with American soldiers caught in the middle. Now, another factor in this fight, west of Mosul is an enclave of Turkmen. These are ethnic Turks, and the Iraqi Turkmen are now calling for an independent province in Iraq. They want it to be in the center, the heart of Nineveh province. The Turkmen are a mix, sectarianly speaking. I mean, some of them are Shia, some of them are Sunni. They make up the third largest ethnic group in Iraq after the Arabs and the Kurds, about 3 million people altogether out of about 35 million in Iraq. Sunni Turkmen have asked the Turkish army, which has a base north of Mosul that we've been telling you about, to get involved in the fight. And Turkey's President Erdogan has said that if anyone attacks the Turkmen, the Turkish army will defend them. This, again, could be ugly. In fact, it looks as though the Turkish army is already taking part in the fight in Mosul. They say that they fired on ISIS positions over the weekend at the request of the Kurdish Peshmerga militia. This, of course, not going down well in Baghdad, where the government has demanded that the Turkish military get out of Iraq as soon as possible. It appears that the Turks want to prevent Iran from getting a foothold in Nineveh province, which would create a convenient, secure overland route from Iran to Syria. Islamic State's leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi reportedly survived a coup attempt just before the attack in Mosul began last week. According to reports, the Islamic police in Mosul announced that Baghdadi's rule was over, that his family had been arrested, and that he had escaped to Raqqa, which is the ISIS capital in eastern Syria. Turns out that wasn't true. Dozens have been executed, including the head of the ISIS religious police and a number of his aides, dozens in all put to death in mass executions, which seemed to be the order of the day in Mosul. Reportedly, another 284 men and boys executed by ISIS over the weekend, reportedly rounded up last Thursday and Friday, executed in 3 waves, shot and dumped into mass graves. Iraqi news reported that the victims were residents of towns and villages located northwest of the city of Mosul, at least 60 of them reportedly no more than 14 years old. Intelligence sources are saying that ISIS fighters, hundreds of them, are fleeing out of the city and headed west toward Raqqa, which is, again, the Islamic State's capital. There is a theory on the web by some that this may be a prearranged deal between Western intelligence sources and the Islamic State to give them free passage out of Iraq in order to go to Syria and set up shop around Raqqa, thereby strengthening its already independent enclave in eastern Syria. Now, we'll see if this is true or just an internet conspiracy rumor. If the push south toward Raqqa by Syrian rebels, backed by Turkish tanks and warplanes, stalls out over the next couple of weeks, then we'll begin to wonder if maybe there was more going on here than just cowardly ISIS fighters fleeing the attack on Mosul. Now, in Syria, the United Nations has given up on a plan to evacuate wounded from the city of Aleppo. It had hoped to move the injured out of Aleppo during a 3-day lull in fighting last week. The United Nations has blamed a lack of cooperation by different factions on the ground, including the Syrian government, for its failure to get to those wounded. Here is the current situation on the ground in northern Syria. Each of these colors represents a different group. Red, the government forces, loyal to Bashar al-Assad. Gray, ISIS. Yellow, mostly Kurdish militia. Purple, rebel forces backed by Turkey's armed forces and U.S. Special Forces. And here's another informative map showing competing proposals for pipelines to run natural gas from the Persian Gulf to Europe. You'll notice that both of these proposed pipelines run through Syria. Well, one of these pipelines backed by Sunni governments of Saudi Arabia and its allies, Qatar and others. The other backed by Iran, the main Shia power in the Middle East, and of course by Russia. Syria reached a deal worth about $6 billion with Iran to run their pipeline through its territory and onto Europe back in 2011. The civil war in Syria also started in 2011. Coincidence? As I said before, I'm not much of a coincidence theorist. Now, we predicted this. Iran says it wants many billions of dollars to release several more American prisoners, or perhaps the better term is hostages, currently being held in Tehran. This is according to news sources in Iran, close to the Revolutionary Guard Corps. American businessman Siamak Namazi and his father Bakr were abducted after the Obama administration sent $1.7 billion for 5 hostages earlier this year. Again, you pay the Dane Geld, you never get rid of the Dane. This is not a surprise. As tensions rise with Russia over the ongoing situation in Syria and Ukraine, Moscow has unveiled an experimental new missile called by NATO analysts the Satan II. According to the specs, it has a 40-megaton warhead, which is about 2,000 times more powerful than the ones dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima in 1945. Would be enough to wipe out an area about the size of France. Meanwhile, the Pentagon looking to deploy up to 300 Marines to Norway. They'd be sent there on a rotational basis, part of NATO's goal of encircling Russia's border with military assets. In Pakistan, gunmen killed at least 53 people and wounded nearly 100 more at a police academy in the city of Quetta. That's in western Pakistan, near the border with Afghanistan. 2 of the militants blew themselves up. A third shot by Pakistani troops who responded to the attack. The attack was blamed on the Taliban. Violence erupted in France as officials began tearing down the jungle, sort of an ad hoc refugee camp for migrants from the Middle East and North Africa, hoping to cross the English Channel into England. The French government relocating the 7,000 residents to other centers across France. Most of the migrants are going peacefully, but some are resisting, still wanting a chance to get into the United Kingdom. More than 1,200 French police have been deployed to clear the camp. And speaking of migrants, here's a useful map of our United States, where refugees have been settled thus far in 2016. The map is color-coded on the basis of the number of migrants settled per 100,000 population. And on that basis, Idaho, North Dakota, Arizona, Nebraska, and Vermont have taken in the most per 100,000 residents. The city of Omaha, Nebraska has taken in 900, which doesn't sound like a lot compared to the tens of millions of refugees around the world, but on a per capita basis and, well, in terms of raw numbers, that's still more refugees than New York City and Los Angeles have taken in combined. Now, this is one of those stories that's going to make you mad. Thousands of soldiers from California have been ordered to repay enlistment bonuses they received 10 years ago because the California National Guard wasn't authorized to give them that money. Nearly 10,000 soldiers, many of whom served multiple combat tours, some of whom have been wounded, some permanently disabled. They're facing interest charges, wage garnishment, and tax liens if they don't repay the bonuses of up to $15,000 or more. These were offered by the California National Guard in the mid-2000s to meet quotas during a period where we had troops deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq. According to the Pentagon, the bonuses were supposed to be reserved for soldiers in high-demand assignments like intelligence or civil affairs or non-commissioned officers badly needed by units that were deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq. A federal investigation found that thousands of bonuses and student loans were given to California Guard soldiers who did not qualify for them or who received the money even though the paperwork was improperly processed. The incentive manager for the California Guard pleaded guilty in 2011 to filing false claims of more than $15 million. 3 officers also pleaded guilty to fraud and got probation. That incentive manager received 30 months in a federal prison, by the way. But instead of forgiving the improper bonuses, the Guard assigned 42 auditors to go through all of this paperwork and identify, track down these soldiers who'd received the bonuses and demand that they pay them back. One soldier, former Army Master Sergeant Susan Haley, who agreed to re-up for 6 years in exchange for her bonus, said, "They'll get their money, but I want those years back." And finally, you may have heard about the massive denial of service attack that took down a big chunk of the internet last Friday. There were some rumors that when these sites went offline, big sites like Amazon.com, Twitter, Netflix, some speculated that this was a rehearsal to disrupt the internet on Election Day coming up, or that the Russians were up to their old tricks again, even though we haven't proved that they were actually responsible for those old tricks that they've been accused of. It turns out that the Internet of Things is to blame for that denial of service attack. This is something Sharon and I have been talking about for months on Sci Friday. The Internet of Things is the network of internet-connected devices around your home. We are being flooded with new ones every day. Everything from our cars to a fitness tracker on your wrist to your refrigerator, television set, home security cameras. It turns out the culprit was a piece of malware called Mirai, M-I-R-A-I. It creates a botnet. Now, botnet is an army of compromised internet-connected devices, all acting in concert to do one thing. In this case, triggered these devices to start pinging the servers of a company called Dyn. Dyn provides internet management for some of these big companies. And suddenly, the servers at Dyn were being overwhelmed by requests for information, bogus requests for information from DVRs, network routers, closed-circuit television cameras, and other things. Clogged the servers with millions of these bogus requests, and they basically collapsed under the weight, took these sites offline for a number of hours Friday. The Internet of Things is making attacks like this possible, and we will probably see more of these until manufacturers of these internet-connected devices begin spending the amount of time and money needed to secure them against these type of attacks. Of course, the other problem is that, besides the manufacturers cutting security corners to save money and rush these products to market, because the Internet of Things is a hugely growing market, the other culprits in this are you and me not using good passwords on our internet-connected toasters and coffee pots. It gives hackers a way into our network systems, and thus all of our devices can be compromised, resulting in attacks like this one. Secure your toaster. This week on SkyWatchTV, an important discussion about an important new book from an expert. Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis is the guest this week, and he's talking about how things like cyber war are changing the way militaries fight wars, but also how this technology that is changing war is changing humanity. The book is called Future War, and highly recommend it. Bob McGinnis, the guest on SkyWatchTV tonight. You can see it 4 different times. The Victory Television Network in Arkansas at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Also at 6:30 in Sandusky, Ohio on WGGN-TV. WLLA in Kalamazoo. That's tonight at 7 p.m. And then Coast to Coast tonight on the Christian Television Network at 8:30 p.m. That's on DirecTV Channel 376, Dish Network Channel 267, and the Glory Star Satellite Channel 117. Tomorrow, Coast to Coast on the Cornerstone Network at 2:30 Central Time, and World Harvest Television at 6 p.m. Central Time. That's DirecTV Channel 367. On Thursday, the Victory Television Network at 6 p.m. Central Time, and then WLLA in Kalamazoo at 6:30. And Saturday night, the Victory Television Network at 3:30 p.m. Saturday afternoon. and then Saturday evening at 6:30 on WCLF-TV in Tampa. The program available now, by the way, on demand on the SkyWatch TV channel on Roku. Roku is one of the options for the web-exclusive content from SkyWatch TV. Of course, daily news updates like this, our weekly programs looking at science, Sci Friday, and Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck, but also interviews that we can't fit into the weekly television schedule, the network television schedule. This week, a bonus interview with Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis about future war, super soldiers, cyber warfare, and more. His book, Future War, the topic of discussion. As a web exclusive, it's available only at SkyWatchTV.com and the SkyWatch TV channels on Roku and on YouTube. And don't miss the audio version. All of our programs available as audio versions so you can listen while you work. The SkyWatch TV podcast online at SkyWatchTV.com. Click the link in the top menu bar that says podcast. It's the week before Halloween, so our thank you for your support during the month of October is very timely. The book God's Ghostbusters, featuring essays on things that go bump in the night from experts and all from a Christian worldview. We'll send you a copy of God's Ghostbusters for free in exchange for your gift of any amount while supplies last during October. For more information and to donate, log on to skywatchtv.com/donate. And of course, your mouse finger can help us out just by clicking like, share, or subscribe. And this week, my website, you find all the stuff that I feel like posting to the interwebs. My website, DerekPGilbert.com, this week featuring an interview, both audio and video interview, with Trey Smith, the filmmaker from the God in a Nutshell project. Again, that's available now online at DerekPGilbert.com. My email address for your comments, questions, and suggestions, dgilbert@SkyWatchTV.com. And thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV. Most American families are just 72 hours away from disaster. Here at SkyWatch TV, we hope we can help avoid that.
I have been given permission to tell about this massive deal. There's one packet where you get one of each of these, breakfast and entree buckets, and again, 25 years shelf life. With that, you will get 15 of these Wise Fire packets. You'll get one of this water bottle. It will filter 99.9% of the impurities out of your water. Also, you will get for free this awesome auto kit.
Now, there's another package.
There are two more packages. The second package, you get 3 of each bucket. You pay for those, and you get the auto kit free, you get the Wise Fire free, and you get 2 of these bottles. There's a third deal. You won't believe this one. You get 6 of each of these. You get the auto kit free, you get the Wise Fire free, you get 2 bottles. Guess what else? You get the Mac Daddy 50-gallon water storage container. If the electric grid goes down, one of these is going to come very handy.
3 packages for preparedness. One that feeds a family of 6 for a month. One that feeds a family of 6 for 3 months. And one that feeds a family of 6 for half a year, and of course that includes the 50-gallon water tank. And with each package, we'll include free the Everyday Gourmet Cooking with Long-Term Food Storage, a $50 value. You'll find all of those deals online, the Wise Food Preparedness Specials, at SkyWatchTVstore.com.